Share with us your most impactful, and again, people are like, well, is it really my most impactful? It's a relaunch, and we want to hear more about who you are and what really resonates with you as something from your past.
Okay. Well, I was raised in the Adirondacks in upstate New York, and quite honestly, it was very picturesque and from the outside looking in, idyllic lifestyle. My father was a successful restaurateur. My siblings and my mom worked at the restaurant. I was too young at the time when we moved up there. I was only 4. But what the small townspeople didn't know is that behind closed doors, my father was a raging and violent alcoholic. And so we lived in terror many nights out of the week. And when you're young like that, you're so impressionable. And of course, an alcoholic has the tendency to say very critical things, not only to their spouse, but to their children, which creates those deep grooves of a lot of limiting beliefs. In our
Mm.
book, we call it the little bitchy voice, right? The LBV. But at the end of the day, my mom finally drummed up the courage when I was 13 years old to leave. And we moved back to Brooklyn, where I was born and where we have loving, wonderful family at the time. And so I was able to really take a look at from whence I came. There were other situations that happened in my childhood. I was sexually abused by a neighbor at the age of 9. So there was a lot of trauma. And interestingly enough, it's like Pew Research has done a deep dive into trauma, and they say that 70% of Americans have dealt with some level of trauma by the age of 18. And sometimes trauma can work its way into making you more resilient, believe it or not, because you learn survival techniques to be able to get through life. It's the old fight or flight, right? And so I was the classic textbook overachiever. Um, from the alcoholic child, I did extremely well in school. I always wanted to make daddy proud, right? And everybody else. But
Mm.
I also had the disease to please. I had difficulties in saying no, drawing those healthy boundaries I always wanted to do. And I guess I derived my own self-worth out of trying to help fix others. So again, as a teenager, I was determined to go off to college and go to law school and help other women. I saw my mother didn't have a voice, and I also saw how unfair the judicial system could be.
Mm.
So I thought it would be an interesting path for me to take to try to be a change maker and be able to amplify the voices of those that felt that they didn't have it. I did go off to college and study political science and economics. I did intern with Geraldine Ferraro, the first
Mhm.
VP
Mhm.
candidate, female. And then I went off to law school. But I'll be honest with you, when I was in law school, I did internships with the ACLU. I did internships with the biggest sex discrimination firm in the
Mm.
United States. And I also realized the judicial system wasn't so just, especially for indigent women. And I realized it was a door that I had been knocking on, thinking for years that that's where I wanted to enter. And in my 3rd year of law school, I pivoted. And then I went off. I found a home in the country that needed rebuilding. And that's where I rebuilt myself. And I studied biofeedback and hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming and all the major religions of the world and great philosophers and ancient rituals. And I did heal myself, and that made me believe and get certified and trained in all those aspects, made me really want to help other women tell their stories and take the mask off, not have shame. In my past, I felt like I needed to wear a mask at times because, you think your past is going to define you. And I have come to realize that your past does not define you. There's nothing to be shameful for. When you're a child and things happen to you, that's not on you. It's on the perpetrators, right? But when you're an adult, it's on you to heal yourself. So I've done that. And now I like to heal others as a mindset and business coach.